Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com. I had the opportunity here to reach out in almost a random email, almost like a cold call type scenario, to a bunch of unbelievable strength coaches. They're just sports professionals, sports training, performance professionals around the country. I've been really excited about the feedback and everybody's willingness to be involved with this audio interview project. One of the guys that responded almost instantly to the email was Coach Scott Sinclair. I'm just excited to have him on the phone. We've met a couple times through email, just talking back and forth as far as getting this project going, making sure everybody understands full disclosure what's going on. We talked for a couple minutes before this show, and 100% from now on, it's me learning from him. It's an opportunity for two professionals that have a chit-chat and just learn different aspects of what's going on in the field. And Coach Scott, man, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy. I know you got practice coming up here in a little bit. And just take some time out of your day to share some information and help expand not only my own background and the knowledge of the field, but those that are listening to the show too, man. I really applaud you just taking some time out of your day.
Well, I appreciate it, Robert. Thank you. You always say you can learn something every day, so it's just as much as me being able to share things and learning from you as it is vice versa. So anytime you can, as we say, talk shop and get to know somebody and get to know kind of how they think, if you can use one little tidbit of information in it and it helps you or helps your program or helps just you as a person in general, I think it's always a good idea to do something like that. So I really appreciate the opportunity and the time that I have to spend with you here.
Coach Scott, man, can you tell me a little bit about your background? Again, I only know what I read on the website and then what you sent me as far as the bio goes. But can you tell me a little bit more than that? Can you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in the field, where your passion really lies, and really what makes you tick, my man?
I think something that maybe all the young strength coaches out there that can learn is how I got started was internship. Back in my junior year of college, I actually wrote into a bunch of different strength coaches throughout the Southeast, and I got a letter back from Ed Ellis. Coach Ed Ellis at the time was at Wake Forest University, and I had an opportunity to go up through the summer and do an internship for him, and I got credit for my college class. But that's kind of how I broke into the field, and from that internship, I stayed in contact with him, and anytime I had an opportunity to go up and visit Wake Forest and visit him, I would do that. And fortunately enough, lucky, whatever you want to call it, when I graduated from school, I got a chance to be a full-time strength coach under him. A spot opened up, and he hired me on full-time. And so I kind of got a little lucky to break into the field, but also, just putting feelers out there and going out and volunteering my time and interning and things like that. I was able to get to know him, and he knew me, and he knew how I worked, and it worked out well. So I spent a couple of years at Wake Forest, and quite honestly, I've been with Coach Ed Ellis for 12, 13 years now. I spent some time at Wake Forest with him. We left there and went to Georgia Tech. I spent 3 seasons at Georgia Tech. From there, went down to UCF and spent 9 years at UCF, longest place I've been. And January of 2013, I came up to Marshall University. Now, I'd been an assistant the whole time, and things opened up, but I just wasn't. It wasn't the right fit for me. And so I had stayed with Coach Ed Ellis for, like I said, 12, 13 years. And when the Marshall spot opened up, it was a good fit for me, and it was finally a chance for me to get my feet wet as far as being a head strength coach. And it worked out good. And so I've been up here since then. And I think when I grew up, I've heard other strength coaches say it, and I've heard some of them not say it, but I always had a passion just to exercise. I thought it was fun to lift weights. I heard somebody say the other day they had a bench and weightlifting set for a Christmas present, and I got the same thing. I remember my dad making me work out on Christmas Eve. Kind of crazy. I wanted to go to bed and get ready for Santa, and he's making me lift weights. But I guess I kind of grew to like exercising then, and I did like coaching. I liked being around sports, and as I got older, I knew that I wanted to coach, but I didn't think I wanted to do the on-the-field X's and O's coach. I wasn't into recruiting. I eventually wanted to have a family, and I wanted to be around them. And so that kind of drew my interest into strength and conditioning. And after an internship, I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. I guess one reason is I obviously have an interest in weightlifting and how the body works and improving the body. But, I've always wanted to help children. And I think being in the strength conditioning field, because we have so much time that we can spend with the athletes, there's an opportunity there for us to better them as people. And, I hear people say it, but it's the truth, to watch them come in as children. They're 16, 17-year-old young men and women, and they think they're grown, but they're obviously not. But to watch them grow and become a better person and a grown-up when they leave, and know that you had a part in that, and know that you may have changed their lives, and know that you may have been that father figure that they didn't have growing up, that's something that I think is very rewarding in our job. Obviously, it's rewarding to watch them come in as a skinny 190-pound, weakling and leave at a 235-pound, middle linebacker that's benching 400 and blah, blah, blah. That's cool. But I think what's even neater is the fact that they can grow up and be young men and women, and when they come to you at the end of the 4 years or whatever it may be, and they say, you know what, Coach, I really appreciate this and I appreciate that. And maybe it doesn't even have to do with thanks for getting me stronger, thanks for getting me faster, but thanks for what you talked to me that day in the office. I think really, in the end of the day, that's why I'm in this business. When I die, they're not going to say, hey, you were a great strength coach because you had guys stronger and faster, but hopefully they may say, hey, you were a great person because you helped mold young men and women and you gave them what they didn't have. And I think that's the cool part about our position here.
One common question from doing these interviews is multiple times, a lot of people ask, what's one common mistake? And I want to broaden that question. What are some successful things that people have done to transition from the high school to the college ranks, and then potentially from the college ranks to the pro ranks? Are there things that you see as commonalities, that people are doing well, that has helped enhance their opportunities as they've pretty much promoted themselves through the athletic ranks?
My thought on the athlete is, I've got a 9-year-old son, and I can see him now playing sports. The kids that get out now and play sports, I think only helps them as they grow older and want to go into college and from college to the pros. I think because PE's taken out of school so much nowadays and kids don't know how to run and jump. We say plyometrics are bad, but then again, you go on the playground and look at kids, they're jumping off the swing set, they're skipping, they're running and things like that. I think kids getting out and being active is the way to help them improve themselves in order to take their game to the next level. As far as from a coaching standpoint, in my opinion, nobody wants to work hard anymore. I think the young kids nowadays they want something given to them. And if I'm hiring someone, the number one thing I want is someone that wants to work hard. So I think you have to get out. I think you have to meet people, but I think you have to be a solid worker and not be afraid of hard work. I think you have to be the guy that if you're an intern, you're doing things before the head coach asks you to do it. You see things that need to be done, and you take the initiative to go do it as opposed to getting him to ask you to do it. In my opinion, that's the way to get ahead, and I think it's the old cliche, working hard, but I think you really have to do that. Now, from that being said, once you get into a high position, an assistant or a head guy or whatever, I obviously think in today's world you have to know people. You have to communicate with people. You have to network. I think that's part of it. Unfortunately, sometimes that's a bad thing, that sometimes guys that are really good in what they do and are hard workers may not get that opportunity because they don't know the right people. So it's kind of opened some avenues for me, it's kind of opened light on it for me that I haven't always been a big talker. I kind of sat back, especially when I was younger, going to conferences, kind of was scared and kind of was nervous about meeting these strength coaches at these big schools. And now that I'm in that position to talk to these younger guys, I want everybody to know, young and girls, go out and meet people and just ask questions, because 99% of the time somebody's going to sit down and talk with you and answer anything you need to know, and it's only going to help you, I hate to say promote yourself, but get your name out there more and meet people, and I think that's kind of the way to go nowadays.
When you're talking to an athlete that's being recruited, oftentimes they're going to bring up some type of combine number, especially with the football environment or the football community. And now as we're getting broader with the evaluation techniques and the recruiting pools are getting bigger in lacrosse and baseball and everything else, is that those quote-unquote numbers are starting to become more and more important. I mean, when a player comes to you and talks about wanting to improve their vertical jump or their bench press or decrease their 40 time, I mean, what's one big message you might have for them there?
As we talk about, and I listen to the question to start off with, 99% of the time the high school athlete comes in here and they tell you the number, it's always wrong. They squat 450 pounds and you see it and it's a quarter squat, or they're jumping a 37-inch vert and you put them on the Vertitech and test it and it's 7 inches, shorter than what they are. So I always like to get a true baseline measurement. Let me see what they're doing. But, my one thing that I always want to reiterate to them is you can have the most scientific, drawn-out program that it covers every little single aspect of training, from nutrition, flexibility, power, speed, strength. But if you don't work hard at it, you're not going to get anything out of it. I'd rather you come in and we do push-ups and sit-ups and body weight squats, and that's it. But if we work at it at 100% effort and we go at it hard every day that we come in the weight room, I'm going to be able to help you improve those numbers that you want to get after. But if you decide to come in and go halfway with it, if you don't give it your all, if you don't sleep at night, if you don't rehydrate, if you don't eat properly, if you don't come in here and you don't go 100% effort in everything we ask you to do, then you're not going to see the results that you're capable of seeing if you would do everything the right way. So my big thing is, hey, you got to give great effort and you got to work hard. And if you do those things, there's a big toolbox that we got here, and there's a lot of different tools in there to help you get better. But if you don't attack it with everything you got, I tell the athletes a lot of times, I say, the difference in 211 and 212 degrees. That degree difference is the boiling point of water. That 1 degree difference can be the difference between a 440 and a 432. I mean, that one little degree is the difference in water boiling and not boiling. So you got to come in here every day in the weight room or on the field or wherever it may be, even in the classroom. You talk to them about there, and you got to go out and you got to give that extra effort of energy and desire and passion. You got to go after it with everything you got. And if you do that, there's the opportunity. There's the, in my opinion, the key to success that's going to take you to wherever you want to go.
Oftentimes when I get a chance to talk to coaches, we talk about program design and administrative type scenarios, and when I get a chance to walk away and actually think about what we did, one question I guess that kind of gets overlooked is how much of an importance do you place on developing relationships with your staff and the athletes that you get a chance to work with, and that includes not only your direct staff, but your coaches, your athletic trainers, your nutritionists, your administration, and that type of thing. I mean, how much emphasis do you place on learning about the people that are around you, their backgrounds, even their motivation, what inspires them, and even their goals?
I think when I first started out in the business as an assistant, I didn't think I had the opportunity to develop relationships with the players as well as the coaching staff as much as I do now as a head guy. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's just kind of the way I felt. But now that I'm a head strength conditioning coach, I feel the relationship with the athlete is extremely important. I think it's difficult sometimes, being that we're dealing with 90, and I deal with just football here myself. But if I'm dealing with 90 football players, that's a difficult task sometimes to get to know every single one of them. Whereas you look at a position coach and he has the opportunity to coach, a running back coach, he may have 5 to 6 running backs and that's it. It's easier for him to develop that relationship with those guys just because he doesn't have as many of them. But I think just getting to know what the players' background is, where they come from, what makes them tick, what their goals are, I think helps you as a coach to motivate them differently. Obviously, we should all know by now that there's a motivation factor, and it's different for everybody. Some kids, they need to be yelled at and screamed at, and that's how they're motivated, and that's what makes them go. That's what makes them tick. While some kids, they need the pat on the back, they need the bringing them in the office and talking with them, and they need a different avenue of motivation, and I think that's what makes a coach a great coach, is learning that. So the relationship is important, and I think as I continue to grow in the field, that's something that I will continue to work on, is trying to talk to them and just let them know that we care about them. The first day I got here as a coach, I met with a team and I told them I'd treat them just like my son, and I meant that I want to know about you, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna take care of you, and care about you, but in return, I expect you to give me everything you got. And when you don't do that, when you fall short, I'm gonna let you know. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna tell you didn't do good, and I expect more from you next time. So as far as the athletes, I think that's important. I also think it's important to have a good relationship with, like we talked about earlier, the support staff, your coaches that work under you, the nutritionist, the training room, the sport coaches. I think it's a huge importance to have a relationship with the athletic trainer. If you have that relationship, and I've been fortunate in the 4 different schools I've been at, I've always had a really good relationship with the athletic trainer. And here at Marshall, I've got a great relationship with our athletic trainer, Dan Jacoby. He does a great job of letting me know what kids can and can't do, and he allows me to tailor things that the kids can do, and the communication there is really good. It's not one where he thinks he's better than me or I think he's better than him. I don't try to tell him how to do his job, and he doesn't do mine. But the relationship is important. The communication is there, and it makes both our jobs a lot easier. I think communication and organization is important, and in your sport coaches as well, letting them know what you're trying to accomplish in the weight room and on the field, and then in turn letting them communicate with the strength coach on what they expect from their program and their athletes, where they think that we need improvement on, what they think the athletes may need to get better at, and then let us design it and implement something that we feel can make them better. And then finally, I'm continuing to learn about my own staff as well. I think it's important to communicate there. When I first got here, my initial thought about a lot of things was they're thinking like I am. And I realized that's not the case. I'd spent 9 years at a program where myself and the head strength coach thought alike, and he didn't have to think about it or say it because I'd already been thinking about it or doing it. And when I got to my new job, my assistant and my GAs under me didn't think like I did. And after I look back, I didn't expect them to. But when I first got here, my initial thought was they did. So I think the communication factor there is important. Teaching them, telling them what you expect from them, showing them what you want the workout or what the program to be that way or that day when the athletes come in and how you want them coaching them. I think that's important. We try to do a good job each day before the workout, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes of going over what we expect our athletes to do that day. We're continuing to work on having some form of weekly or monthly meeting where we can sit down and talk about what's going on in the weight room. We hadn't done a great job of that, to be quite honest with you, but we're going to work a better job of that in the new year, of sitting down maybe once a week and, any problems, any areas of concern, any areas that we think we can improve on, doing a better job of that. In our business, we always like to say you can take things from other people and learn, and I have a friend down at Baylor, and they do a monthly, I guess it's kind of like a monthly email magazine blast thing that goes out to the athletic department that gives little tips and reminders on nutrition, on hydration, on maybe study habits, on different things that are going to help the athlete. And I think we're going to try to implement something like that here at the beginning of the new year that just puts more information in the athlete's hand to try to build that communication area and also just continue to help them in any way we can.
I had an opportunity there to come in the weight room and talk with one of your athletes. My question to them might be, what's one exercise or modality or drill that Coach Sinclair does more than often? I mean, what's one exercise that you think you really either encourage or avoid in your program?
I think one exercise that I encourage probably a lot, and we do some form of it every day, and I think it's actually two, to be quite honest. I believe in the Olympic lifts. I think the whether it's a power clean or a hang clean or a split jerk or some form of triple extension exercise, I think is good for the athletes. So we're going to always do some form of that every day, and that can be a deadlift jump with a trap bar. It can be a box jump. It doesn't always have to be an actual bar power clean. We may do a one-arm dumbbell snatch. We may do a medicine ball throw as high as we can, but I think some form of triple extension with the ankle, the knee, and the hip is extremely important for the athlete. And also, as far as football, like I said, that's all I train here. I think the neck area is an extremely important area that we need to train every day, and we'll do that every day our guys come in, whether it's a manual neck, whether it's a machine neck, whether we've done something where we've taken bands and hooked them on a rack and did almost like an isometric hold with a band. We've taken bands and put them across the rack low, kind of almost like from about 8 to 10 inches off the ground, and we've done a banded four-way neck with the band that way. So, heck, we've even done, and I've got it off wrestling and UFC one time I saw it. I call it a form of a partner deadlift, where a guy will lay on his back and he'll tighten up and stiffen up really stiff, and the other guy will place his hands under his head. And he'll do a deadlift and pick him up basically by the back of his head when that guy on the ground has to stay nice and stiff and squeeze his neck in an isometric hold as well as his core. So we're going to always train the neck. We're going to always train some form of triple extension exercise. I think those are two areas that our players would say we're going to do some form of that every single day. Or something staying away from, I honestly feel like when we come in here, if you coach it correctly and the technique is right, I think most everything you do in the weight room can be safe. But in that same sentence, I think you can do a lot of things in here wrong, incorrect, with bad technique, and there's a chance to get hurt in everything we do too. Sometimes they get aggravated with coaches, and they say, you can't get hurt in the weight room. Well, if you're wanting us to train hard and you're wanting us to get after it and you're wanting us to push the athletes, I feel like there's a possibility of an injury that could occur in the weight room. The same in that same sentence when you say, when you go on the field, do you train hard? Do you run hard? Do you practice hard? Yeah, because we're trying to get better. Well, there's an opportunity to get injured on the field as well. So obviously we try to limit everything we can from injuries happening in the weight room. But I think if you're going to train hard and you're going to push the athletes, yeah, there is a chance to get injured. Obviously, we don't want any of that to happen. But I feel like if we do everything safe and we're coaching the athletes properly, I feel comfortable in almost everything we do in here can be safe.
Back in the day, from what I understand, because I wasn't there at the beginning of the strength and conditioning profession, but most of the time the guys were just in the weight room, and then we progressed into strength and conditioning type coaches. And now you're starting to see some sports psychology and sports nutrition and technology being involved in the field, or right in our training sessions for that matter. I mean, what's one big avenue or one big aspect of the strength and conditioning field, speaking broader, that you feel is really developing and helping enhance the product that we can put on the field?
To be quite honest with you, I think some of that has to do with the programs that have the money to spend that can bring people in to help with the athletes if you don't have it. Obviously, we don't have a nutritionist here, so I think it's part of the strength coach's job to learn about nutrition and to kind of help the athletes with that nutrition education and to teach them as much as we know, and for us to continue learning so we can teach the athlete, because we don't have the money to bring people in to do that. Psychology, the same thing. So I think it's the strength coach's job is you have to be innovative. You have to find ways to help the athletes, and if it's watching a video, I did something this summer where Eric Thomas, a motivational speaker, if you've heard of him before, has videos out, and I looked into bringing him here to Marshall to speak to our athletes, and he was a little bit more expensive than we can afford right now, but that didn't stop us from buying some of his DVDs and showing it to our athletes. From a nutrition standpoint, if we can, I have a Twitter account, and we try to tweet things out to the athletes sometimes about staying hydrated, about things to eat, thinking about sleep, and things like that. So just because you don't have access to the sports psychology, the nutrition, the things like that, doesn't mean as a strength coach you can't figure out ways to help the athletes in other ways. So I think those two ways, are important. I think the nutrition aspect is growing every day in the strength conditioning field, and it's definitely helping our athletes. I think, I'm continuing to learn about modalities such as foam rolling and recovery, things like that, where you're foam rolling and you're hydrating and things like that I think will continue to help the athletes. I never was a big guy as far as that goes, into it, I guess you could say. But since I've been here at Marshall, we started doing more of those type of recovery exercises, and I think it's helped our athletes recover and improve and get ready to go again. So that's one area that we'll continue to work on and learn about more, and I think that's another area that is improving every day in the strength conditioning field.
Do you and your staff participate in regular staff development training sessions, and how do you go about structuring it along with all the other responsibilities that you have going on in your busy week?
I think one thing that we've tried to start doing as far as a staff here is once a week we try to bring in some form of article, whatever it may be on, and teach the other staff about it. One day I brought in something on sled training and different forms of sled training that may enhance speed development. One day one of my staff members brought in an article on power plate, and we just got a power plate here, and we wanted to learn more about it, so he brought in a good research article on a power plate and ways that it was being used and how it was enhancing the athlete's vertical jump performance. So things like that we try to do once a week and bring articles in that we can sit down and talk about and just learn from, kind of like we say, just talking shop and saying, you know what, I don't really agree with that, or hey, I think this is a good idea. We're on the internet a decent amount, looking at different websites that have research articles or articles, about lifting. You're kind of looking around and seeing different things like that, and if we see something that's interesting, we'll just sit down and talk about it and take, 5-10 minutes and discuss it. We try to do a staff lift here. I think that's important, to try to get everybody together and lift weights together, because there may be a new exercise that we want to try. And I think it's important for us to know how to do it, to know how to teach it, and to know what it feels like if we're going to ask our athletes to do it as well. So, we're fortunate here at Marshall that that in our weight room here we take care of 3 different teams, football, baseball, and softball. And so we're fortunate that we do have a little bit more time every now and then when a team's not training that we can come in together and talk about what may be out there this week that we're interested in. So we're doing a decent job of that. I'd like to get better at it, and I think in the upcoming year we're going to continue to work on that and continue to try to broaden our knowledge base. I got a couple emails yesterday on some strength clinics coming up here in the new year, and I think that's something that we're going to push for, is to get our staff to go up to a couple of these new clinics and just learn. And like I said earlier, each day you can learn something new to get out and try to learn some things about strength and conditioning that we may not have known. That it's only going to help us as strength coaches, and it's going to help our program also.
I want to talk a little bit about being in your room there and how you go about it. I understand that you work primarily with just football. And how do you go about structuring the training sessions, whether it's, the strength or the conditioning aspects? Are you lining up your schedule associated by the position, the class and year? Are you looking at their class schedule? Are you doing one-on-one, small group type stuff? Or are you bringing in the whole herd, rock and roll in one shot?
Something that I've learned here at Marshall is our class schedule is kind of different. I was fortunate at UCF that because the school was so big and so many classes were offered, we could block out a whole 5-6 hours, whether it be AM or PM, and all those kids had was football or training per se. And so whether it was watching film and practice or whether it was just training, we had a real neat avenue there that time was blocked off, and that's how we ran it. Now, when I got here to Marshall, it's a little different. Our class schedule dictates a lot about when we lift the guys. So we like to try to lift them in 3 groups, and it's like I said, it's based on class schedule. We may have linemen in here together with skill guys, and that's just kind of how it works best for us. But within those 3 groups, when a group comes in, a group may be, we try to keep our groups about the same number, you say around 30 guys, 28 to 30 guys. So when I bring them in, within those 3 groups, we separate them into 3 more groups. So let's say the way our workout may work, it's an upper body day, and we may have one group power cleaning or hang cleaning or doing something on the platforms, while another group is on the bench press, whether they're doing an incline or a shoulder press or a bench press or a close grip block, whatever it may be. And then we'll have another group in one area of the weight room, whether they're doing some shoulder prehab work, whether they're in a dumbbell area or wherever it may be. And I like to break the groups up like that. I think it takes that big group of 30, it breaks it down to a manageable number, 8, 10, 12 guys per coach, and then we'll go through our workout that way. And I keep them in those groups, and they finish what thing they're supposed to do in that area. And when they're done, I like them to sit there and do abs or do some form of I don't like them standing around, put it that way, whether they're stretching or doing abs, some core work before we rotate, and I blow the whistle, and then they'll go, the power clean guys would, go to the bench, and bench guys go to dumbbells, and so on and so forth. Every now and then, especially during the summer, I do like to bring the whole group in. I think we're continuing to try to build a team atmosphere and having guys work together and see that, that quarterback working with the DB and the lineman working with the running back. And I think that's important to continue to build team unity. So once a week, every 2 weeks in the summer, we'll do a team lift on Friday morning. We'll come in early, 5:30, 6 o'clock a.m., and we'll have the whole team in, and we'll get after it for an hour and a half or so as a team. I think sometimes you may not get as good a training in there because you've got 90 guys and you've got to deal with all those 90, and I'm sure some of them are trying to hide and not do what they're supposed to do. But from a standpoint of being together as a team and continuing to build team unity and having guys see other guys pushing each other and working together, I think that's an important part of team building. So we'll do that every so often, is coming in as a team. But, again, the best way that we like to do it is by class schedule. And then once that class schedule is done and they come in, we'll break them into smaller groups when they come in the weight room.
Well, Coach Sinclair, man, I know you got to get off to practice here. Again, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day just to answer a few questions. And, again, like you said a couple times there, just talk shop and be genuine with your answers. I really applaud that passion that you have for the field, my man. If anybody had any questions about your program or wanted to reach out to you just to find out more information about what you got going on, how could they go about getting a hold of you?
I can give them 2 different ways would be best for me. One's my email address. It's Sinclair S. It's SINCLAIRS @marshall.edu. And I also have a Twitter account. It's Coach_Sinclair. Those would be 2 ways that they could get in touch with me. And, just to finish off, Rob, I think, something I was taught early on by my dad kind of give a shout out to him. But he's always said a job worth doing is worth doing right. And for all the young people out there that are wanting to get into the business, or even if they don't want to get in strength and conditioning, whatever it may be that they are passionate about and they're wanting to get into, I think that's something important they need to realize is if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. You know, be proud of your work, and don't have somebody come behind you and see mistakes you've made. You know, if you're proud of what you do and you decide to do something, do it right the first time and go after it 100%. And you know, whether it's training, whether it's academics, whether it's being a dad, whether it's be a husband, I tell our kids all the time. A little phrase I use, and I always put it on Twitter as a hashtag, but it's ATD. That's the kind of, we got it painted in the weight room here, ATD. And I tell the kids this, it's attack today. It's kind of what it stands for me. And I tell them, you know, whether we're coming in the weight room, whether you're going to study hall, whether you're going out to practice, you know, whether you're going home to be a dad, a brother, a husband, whatever you're doing, attack the day like it's all you got, like you might not have that next day, because you know we're never guaranteed it. So give everything you got every day, attack the day, and I think, you know what, if you do that, you'll be able to rest easy at night when you go to bed.
It's a great message, Coach. Man, I really. I actually wrote that down as a hashtag, and it might become a T-shirt in 2014. Not going to lie to you.
Sounds good.
So,
I got to make sure I get that thing trademarked or something, huh?
So no, I hopefully this is an opportunity for us to have more conversations in the future, and hopefully collaborate on more things going down the road here. But again, man, I applaud your passion. I appreciate your how fast you got back. Obviously, just hearing the message that you're sharing here, those kids at Marshall are in good hands, my man. And I look forward to just keeping in touch and hope all's well. Happy holidays, my man.
Hey, same to you, Rob. Thanks for doing this and putting it out and giving everybody an opportunity and an avenue to continue to learn and develop relationships and communicate. And that's something cool that the business may not have had before, and we've got it now. So I appreciate your work as well.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Coach. Have a great day, man.
Take care. Merry Christmas.